Hello, everyone. This is Madeline with Clean Water. We are going to get started here and ask questions, and we can try and answer those. We do have one presenter and one person who has some additional. I'm going to actually pass it over to Roger here, and he will make a few announcements as well.
Great. So thanks, everyone, for taking part in this webinar. For those of you who haven't been on previous ones, it's a series that we've been running over the course of the past year on different topics that are relevant to towns and town energy committees. All the archives for these webinars are available on the internet, and we'll send out a notice to everybody registered for this one. That way, even if maybe some of your town staff or fellow task force members weren't able to take part, they can still take advantage of the information. I want to let you know we have two upcoming webinars. We have one on Thursday, which is about outreach to businesses on energy-saving programs, particularly Small Business Energy Advantage. It's going to be a good webinar. It builds upon what we did an in-person workshop about a month ago, and it features John Post with the Litchfield Energy Committee there, which has been doing some really good work in this area. Then I want to let you know we're going to have another webinar, most likely sometime in October, with the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection. It's going to be focused on their new energy savings performance contracting program, including some of the model documents and processes and procedures, and also some really exciting new resources to help make this easier for towns. So stay tuned for that one. And if any of you, want updates and don't get them, just send me an email, rsmith@cleanwater.org. And just a reminder, this webinar and all the other ones we're putting on are made possible by a grant from the Emily Hall Tremaine Foundation, and we definitely appreciate all their support to enable us to support people working on the ground on energy here in Connecticut. So with that, thank you, and I'll pass it back to Madeline.
All right, thank you, Roger. So we have one of our presenters was actually unable to join us due to a facilities emergency that occurred. So he did give me some quick notes, and I just wanted to touch base on that. That's what you're all looking at right now. So the town of Cheshire has done a lot of indoor lighting upgrades. In particular, they've really focused on the public library and the high school. And in the Cheshire Public High School Library, they are actually saving about 80% of their previous energy costs or electricity costs. They put in 124 LED lights. And in their auditorium, they completed that project over 3 years ago, and they have not needed to replace them yet. So Frank is really willing to help give people tours if you're interested, or you know someone from your town might be interested in checking out what they have to do, or if you have any questions at all about the scope of the work that they did in Cheshire, you can shoot him an email, and he'll get back to you as soon as he can. Okay. So on that note, I'm going to pass it over to Mark from West Hartford, and he is going to talk to you about some of the projects that they've been working on there in West Hartford. Okay.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mark Kolomick, and I work for the town of West Hartford. I'm going to talk to you tonight about street lighting. I'm the manager of traffic safety in the Department of Public Works. And I just want to let you know that the town of West Hartford did buy their street lights from CLNP. We currently own 6,500 street lights. And along with that, we have 600 decorative street lights. Traffic signals, we have 60 traffic signals, school speed signs. And to let you know that all those have been converted to LEDs. And the town bought the fixtures from CLNP back in 2002. And we have both unmetered and metered lights. All the Cobra heads in town are the unmetered lights. And we have on staff, when we bought we had a trial period first when we first bought the lights, that we brought on after 5 years of testing. What we did with the program is we bought the lights, had all the inventory in stock, we kept everything in stock, the lights, photocells, everything from nuts to bolts, wire nuts. And we took care of working with a private contractor that we hired first to test the system out. We had that private contractor for 5 years, and then decided it was advantageous for the town to actually purchase a bucket truck which we had one already in town, and then we purchased a brand new bucket truck, and we hired 2 more electricians. Currently on staff, we do have 4 electricians. I'm one of the electricians, but I do manage it, and I have the 3 electricians that work in the street. And DPW installs and repairs and maintains all the lights. So basically all we're doing is buying energy from CLMP. And my philosophy is that we always test things before we put them out to work. And testing to get the best energy savings, and then as far as the energy savings, we want to make sure that the operating cost and the maintenance savings is part of that when we do a test. And we always test before we buy. We go out to vendors. Vendors approach us. We talk to other vendors, and we're more than willing to work with the vendors. We have put up Cobra Heads LEDs just recently, and we had some given to us for test by GE. And then along with that, you have to make sure that a lot of other fees are involved, and when you're doing the street lighting, we have a flat rate cost for disconnect and reconnect. A lot of paperwork involved in when you disconnect the light, take it out of service, or if you want to add a light. We have tested LED Cobra Heads as part of our projects. Those are up there now actively. We have, I'll show you a couple pictures of those. LED fixtures, we have tested some LED fixtures. We did a program about 2 years ago in West Hartford. We invited different manufacturers to bring in their decorative LED streetlights to let them test it out, and we tested those. We also had a program where we've been testing midnight time clocks. And time clock, I'll show you how that works. We went to our decorative street lighting where at night, at midnight, via time clock, we would turn on every other pole as an energy conservation method. And also working with CLMP, we have the midnight timer photo cells, and that is every fixture in town has a photo cell, and at certain locations we would go out and put the timer photo cell in. The timer photo cell has a clock built in, internal time clock, and at midnight turns off the power. Now we only put these up when it's a straightaway. We don't put it over intersections, and we don't put them, like I said, in straightaways only, and not in intersections and curves in the street to keep things safe. They also have tested a energy savings lighting control center. Basically what this does, this energy saving lighting control center, is in test right now with our decorative fixtures. It's basically a timer, like a timer for a dimmer, a dimmer, like a dimmer that you would use in your house, but it's electronic and obviously controls a lot of power. And it steps the lights down in intervals, starting at a certain predetermined time, and you step it down, and right now we'll probably have the lights step down by controlling the voltage, lowering the voltage. We've got it controlled down to a reduced energy about 40%, and Catherine will be able to talk to you about that later. We also have solar LED signals, and we've tested LED screw-in lamps. And then, like I said, town has been testing LED Cobra Heads for over 8 years. We've had them up and running and testing them. We've had very good success with those lights. Again, I'm talking about the GE decorative lights that we have put up. We put up 17 fixtures. Part of that is that you have to have the fixture approved by Design Light Consortium. You have to have their approval first, and then we go to CLMP and get that fixture approved by them, because you can't, it is their system, the secondary wires where you get the power from, it is theirs, and they have to approve what you put up there. And in 2 locations we have put up 17 fixtures. Down on Brixton Street we had 150 watt high pressure sodiums, and we reduced those to 106 watt LEDs. And also in the center of town, right by Town Hall, we had 70 watt high pressure sodium fixtures, and then we reduced those down to 54 LEDs. And I'm going to show you the results here. You can see the picture on the left. That is down at Brixton Street. And you can see the high pressure sodium, that's the 150 on the left, and on the right is the LED, the 106 watt LED. You can see that they both cover the same amount. You can see them on the right side, That's the LED. You can see how the light covers to the middle of the intersection, and then on the left, the high-pressure sodium, which is that yellow light. You can see how they meet, and it's very adequate lighting. The photo on the right is of Brixton Street also. You're starting the beginning of Brixton Street. You can see the LED fixtures, and if you look way to the back of the photograph, in the very last, you'll see those high-pressure sodiums. That's the yellow light in the back, but you can see we've got plenty of coverage for the LED lights. And here is results. I went out with a meter, and I took the foot candle readings. And on Brixton Street, you can see what the readings are on Brixton Street, the high-pressure sodium, the 150 watt. And then we moved to South Main Street, and I measured the 150 watts up there at the second location. You can see I stood right under the first fixture with the readings. I got the foot candles. I went halfway between the fixtures, and then again to the second fixture. And then the bottom line right there, which says Brixton, the LED, you have 106 watt, and then you can see the foot candles. It's remarkable just how bright they really are. And in fact, when I was talking with Catherine, we decided that if we go forward with this program and we have 150 watts, we can even consider lowering that down even further to 106 and getting something even lower wattage. And at Ellsworth, you can see we had the 70 watts that we swapped out, and you can see the readings there. On Burr Street, I had the 70 watts on Ellsworth, and then on Burr Street, the LEDs, the 54. So we reduced that energy, and you can see the foot candles in that picture, in that graph there. Project cost for 17 fixtures. You can see right down the line that what it costs for to purchase the fixtures, the labor to put them in. The vendor discount was $21,000, and CLMP rebate $1,680, and then the net cost is $8,336.44, and that was an average cost of $450 per fixtures. And the savings you can see, you can read down. Catherine, if you want to step in and discuss that, go right ahead.
Sure. This is Catherine Deviney. I also work for the town of West Hartford, and I just ran some of the financials on this project. So we worked it out to be about $33 savings per fixture per year in energy savings on our utility bills. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot per fixture, but when you consider that we have over 6,000 fixtures in our town, you know, it's over $200,000 of savings per year, which is pretty substantial. And if you do the math, that ends up being an energy payback of about 15 years, which is all right. But, you know, some people like their energy paybacks to be under 10 years or under 5 years. But actually, what Mark is finding that some of the real benefits of doing these LED street lighting projects is the operational and maintenance savings. He doesn't have to send guys out to change light bulbs. You know, when you have a bucket truck and people going up poles, that's a substantial expense. And the bulbs themselves are very expensive as well. So we're seeing some of the real benefits, and we're hoping that over time some of the real benefits are going to be on the O&M side. And I just wanted to make a point as well. The town of West Hartford, actually, you know, our starting point is high-pressure sodiums that are 150 and 70 watts. And that's pretty low to start with. You know, we were able to cut our energy use about 20 or 30% from there, but a lot of towns still have 400-watt HPS. So there would be even more savings for some of the towns who are starting from a higher baseline on their high-pressure sodiums.
Thank you, Catherine.
Mark?
Yep. And here we see on, this is on New Britain Avenue in West Hartford. We had, first before we started our LED fixture replacement, we did a retrofit on New Britain Avenue, and we replaced 67 high-pressure sodium fixtures, decorative fixtures, with LEDs. We went out, and I told you before, they had the 5 companies that the manufacturer came in, and we ended up buying the Hadco fixture as a retrofit. And you can see here, looking down New Britain Avenue in West Hartford, on the left-hand side again, you can see all down the left-hand side is all LED lighting, and those are the retrofits. Still Hadco fixtures, and those are a Type 3 globe that's there. On the right-hand side, obviously, is the high-pressure sodium. Now, on the right-hand side is 150, And on the left-hand side, those are only 64 watts LED. So it's quite a bit of savings right there. And along with that, we had split the LED towers. Inside the LED towers, we have 60% of the LED light shining to the street side, and then 40% to the back side of the fixture, lighting up the back to the sidewalk. And again, these installation is why we went with Hadco fixture. Actually, physically, just with the fixture we had up there, just to plug and play and put them in, and we were able to replace them in a decent amount of time. And again, that had to be approved by the Design Light Consortium, and also CLMP approved those lights, and those were Philips Hadco fixtures that we had selected. So along with that, we are going forward with those fixtures, and in the West Hartford Center, we will be going to replace 120 decorative streetlights in West Hartford. So this here on the light is, you can see, that's the LED light on the left-hand side, and it has 10 LEDs on that array. Now, if you could turn this tower on each side every 90 degrees, you see this LED pattern. You have 2 of these LED patterns 180 degrees with the 10 LED arrays, and the one on the right shows the same pattern, but they are 20. So you have 360 degrees rotation of the LED lighting. Again, roughly 60% on which we will put on the street side, and 40% on the curb side. I had it redesigned work with Philips, with the vendor, and what we're going to be doing with these is going to have 2 drivers built into these. 2 drivers separate. We're going to have the front side, street side, and the back side. And our intentions are in the future going forward is that after midnight, if we choose to desire, we can shut down the back side of the LED array to, again, save money. Again, so it works out well for us. On New Britain Avenue, I did the testing. You can see the testing that I did with the foot candle readings. New Britain Avenue high pressure sodium versus the LED lighting, the 64 watts of 150. Going back up to the north end of town, when I was talking about how we use a time clock at midnight to shut off every other pole up the north end of town. When we did that, we had shut off one fixture. Our fixtures, as you saw in the first picture, were 2 fixtures side by side on the one pole. And what we did is we shut off every 1 fixture per pole. We had a lot of complaints because people could see one light on, one light off, and they thought there was something wrong. We finally went to the time clock and we separated them out, and instead of doing 1 fixture per pole, we did every other pole. We turned them off. It's been like that for 2 years. Quite a bit of savings that Catherine's going to be able to talk about. And we had absolutely no complaints. And it works good. I do have a picture of that. So in recap, you can see that we have been replacing these decorative fixtures from high pressure sodium to LED. No metal halides at this time. Down in Blueback Square, we do have metal halides, but not as far as the decorative lighting. And you can see that we installed over 63 fixtures back on New Britain Avenue. And we plan to, and when we can, as far as our decorative lighting, we want to go from unmetered to metered. And when we do that on the decorative lights, we will be able to control where we purchase energy and reduce our energy costs that way also. Just so you know, with Cobra, go ahead, Catherine. Sorry.
I was just going to make the point. One of the difficulties with doing street lighting and energy efficiency projects is that, as we pointed out, a lot of our lights are unmetered. So you have to take this extra step with CLMP to document that you went from high pressure sodium or metal halide to LED, and then get a rate adjustment on your unmetered bill. If your lights are on a metered bill, where you get billed for the kWh you are using, then your savings just show up on your bill. But a lot of times street lighting is a little bit complicated because you have to take this extra step of unmetered lighting to get a rate adjustment.
Okay, thank you, Catherine. Again, we're looking, right now we just had set up a test with 15 of our new LED decorative fixtures. We put those out to test this past week, actually, and they're up and running. And when we make some minor adjustments to those, we have planned to buy 120 more for downtown West Hartford for a total of 207 of those fixtures.
And just the last point that I want to make on some of these LED retrofits we're doing is a lot of times with street lighting, as pointed out before, it's not entirely energy driven. For example, this decorative fixture project, and when we say decorative fixtures, we're talking about these kind of cast iron poles like you see in the picture here. So this project, actually the primary driver was aesthetics. We had someone high up in the administration who did not like the mixture of the white and yellow light that we were having from the high pressure sodiums and our metal halides. So we are converting all the HPS, high pressure sodium, yellow ones, to LED, but not touching the metal halides at this time, so that at least we're uniform in the white light. Again, I mentioned O&M savings is another primary driver for street lighting projects, and energy savings plays a role, but not necessarily your primary role in some of these street lighting projects, at least for us.
Catherine, I do believe that's the end of our presentation. If you have anything else, that's fine. Roger? Madeline, you can take over.
No, go ahead, Mark. You can go through the, do you want to go through the rest of these slides?
Yep, I'm having, here we go. Right here, this is up here at North Main Street, Bishop's Corner, north end of town. And if you look at this picture, you can see, again, these are our decorative poles. These are high-pressure sodiums. And on the left-hand side, you can see that one's lit. And then on the right-hand side, we have turned off the light. You can see over there where that is, that you can see that. Just have to give me 1 second, please. Catherine, can you just talk about those that fixture right there, the lights that are heavily turned off every other pole?
Yeah, so this was a program Mark started doing where he installed midnight time clocks to turn off every other pole along some street at midnight. And what this slide is demonstrating is that the light spread from the pole on the left-hand side reaches all the way over to the pole that's off. And you could presumably imagine that the pole further to the right is casting its light spread back to this pole as well. So really, at night, the fixture that's off is not even needed because you get the full light spread down the street. And Mark started implementing this program, and he really had no complaints from it at all. Is that correct?
That is correct. No complaints at all. And then here we have, this is the timer photocell we were talking about. This is the one that's got an astronomical clock that at midnight it turns off. And we have these in town, and again, we have selective locations. We don't put them in crosswalks. We don't put them on curves in the street or intersections. And the incentive for this was that they're paying us $51.60 per sensor to put these in, and then we get a rebate per month to lower our bill. It's actually, we're not getting money, but we're lowering the rate on our bill. So that also was very advantageous for the town to do this project. We do have some complaints. The complaints are that people see the light go off at midnight, and they want to know why we can't move that light around. The problem, it's a slight problem, is that you have to go to CLMT, tell them what pole that you put it on. It's documented. It's very difficult to go in and change that and then apply for the change in rebate for that location of that pole. So it's sensitive that that has to stay on that pole once you apply for CLMT. It's not that you can't change it, but it's difficult to do so. And then I was talking about the giant dimmer switch, and looking inside the box here, that's one of our control cabinets for our lighting, and that gray box, that is the gray box, that is that dimmer. Again, it steps down the voltage in increments, so it doesn't happen instantly, so the public doesn't see that. And it steps down in steps, and then it works on metal halide, and it works on high-pressure sodium. Right now, we're running that on high-pressure sodium. and we see that it has a reduced energy consumption of between 35 and 40%. And this product is actually being used in Europe before they brought it here for us to test trial. And it has been working quite successfully so far. We've had, again, this up for well over a year.
Hey, Mark, and we actually had a question on this topic. Let me just unmute Eugene and see if you had any other questions about the dimming technology.
I was wondering if it worked on LEDs. The dimmer box.
You could probably use it on LEDs, but the problem, that's not a problem, it's a good thing. LEDs are so efficient already, it would be hard for you to get any savings from this unit. It works well, as I said, it works well on hypersodium and metal halide, but because LEDs are so efficient already, you're already getting quite a savings that by the time you purchase the product and put it in, there wouldn't be much of a savings. So we don't intend to use it on LEDs.
Well, we have residences on the second floor, so I was thinking in terms of comfort level for the people living on the street.
You're saying that you would, the LEDs, because the LEDs are so bright that you would like to dim those down. If that was the case, with aesthetics purposes, there's absolutely no reason why this could not work on LEDs.
Okay.
Because all you do is you're lowering the voltage. So.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Okay, yeah.
And just a related question, Mark, if you could give us an idea on the cost of that. So you said it's not cost justified for LEDs. You know, what sort of outlay is it to install a control like that? Actually,
Roger, it's being in a test mode right now, and we haven't even talked to the people who have installed it. We haven't gotten that far yet. We've been testing it for them, and they're going to make a proposal in the next couple of weeks to the town of West Hartford.
Okay, so would you say the technology is not quite commercial ready in the U.S.?
That is correct. We are testing it for them. That is correct.
Great.
Not yet. Anybody else?
And just folks in the audience, you can hit the hand button if you want to raise your hand. You can also type a question into the question box.
Okay, I think Catherine wants to talk about the energy here.
Well,
Catherine likes to jump in.
This is Catherine again. This is just some of the actual utility bill results that we've had off our test of the dimming system. So these are, again, we're only putting it on metered lights because otherwise we wouldn't see that kWh reduction on a bill if it were on unmetered lights. So these are actual metered lights, and you can see here prior year utility bill numbers compared to this spring's utility bill numbers, and we are actually seeing about a 40 to 50% reduction in energy use on our bills with those dimming systems in.
Thank you, Catherine.
Is that our last
Catherine,
slide?
I believe that's our last slide. I believe, Catherine,
okay.
Am I getting anywhere else? Okay.
Okay, well, thanks, Mark, and thanks, Catherine. I just had a general question I was hoping you might be able to answer. It's just, you know, when the town decided to embark on this journey to take over its streetlights and then really investigate these different technologies, I mean, how did that come about? I mean, who wanted to drive that, and do you have any advice for other towns that might be considering it?
Well, as far as it came from the town manager's office, and the engineering office is where we started with that, as far as purchasing the lights. And again, we did that back in 2002. And my only recommendation is when we did this is that some people would go out and buy lights, but they want to hire an outside company, and that's fine. You can have an outside company, but you wouldn't have as much savings. I have better control over what's going on out there. I can handle the complaints because we're in-house. We can respond immediately. And as far as the savings, it was quite a savings for us. Just energy savings alone was quite a significant amount of money that we had saved. Again, that allowed us to bring in 2 electricians and buy the bucket truck to do that maintenance.
Got it. And do you have advice for other towns? And are there any pitfalls you'd say to watch out for or things to consider?
I haven't heard anything else. I know that other towns do bring in private companies to manage their lights. I know there's some hidden costs that you don't see up right front, and every time I would like to do a transfer, there's a fee for a transfer. Things we have to deal with in our town, we have two different owners of the poles. Roughly 98% of the poles are owned, half of them are owned by AT&T and half are owned by CLNP. And since the deregulation now, everybody, you have to deal with both. And if I want to make an application to attach to a pole, I have to make the application to both AT&T and CLNP. Of course, there's a fee for that because there's a pole assessment. We do own in town 400 streetlights ourselves, poles. We own them. That's all they are, is for street lights only. We own 400 poles, again, but we maintain it in-house.
So,
any other questions, Roger?
Roger, this is Catherine, too. So we didn't focus on the buying of poles. I actually thought you were going to have another town speaking about that process of buying the poles. And I can do some more research on how that actually occurred. The limited history I know, and I think that purchase in 2002 happened before either Mark and I were with the town, so I don't know the full history. I do know that it's a very complicated process. I know it took time on the utility end and our end, even to get it straight how many fixtures, poles there were before we could even settle on the transaction. The paperwork on both sides was lacking, the documentation of what's what and what wattages were out there and that kind of thing. So it's an interesting exercise to go through and audit everything that's out there. I do also know that I think, it's an expensive endeavor, and I think West Hartford was able to use some money they got from a utility settlement on street lighting, where we had been overcharged for a while, to actually go ahead then and purchase the light fixtures. So there were some things that went into that decision. I don't know the full story. Those were some of the complicating factors, but I can do a little bit more research if that's something we can save for another presentation.
I do know, Catherine, that you're correct that when we did the buyout, that they gave us a list of all the inventory. They came up with a value of that list of all the inventory, and we had to make a decision at that time to make that purchase. And we went ahead to purchase as is, and we did buy those lights as is at that time when we bought those. I have been with the town for 4 years, and I've been here for that buyout. Again, that was done up in the office with the town manager and engineering staff. So,
gotcha.
And again, we can help with Catherine get you some more information about that. Roger?
Great. And on that note, if folks want to contact you, what's the best way?
Well, I'll give you my email address, and the best way to contact me is through email if you don't mind. And again, it's very easy. It's Mark, H-M-A-R-K-H, at West Hartford, WESTHARTFORD.org, O-R-G. My office telephone number is 860-561-8109. Catherine?
Oh, yeah, and my contact information, Roger can also provide that to people. It's catherine.deviney@westhartford.org. You want me to spell that? Or, Roger, you can provide it to people.
Yeah, and we can also provide it in follow-up as the
yeah.
webinar, and then in the recording I can actually put it on the screen so folks could see it.
Yeah, sorry, we should have included a slide at the end.
No worries. You guys did a great job. Thanks again.
Thank you,
Pass
Roger.
back to you,
Thank you,
Madeline.
Catherine.
Great, thanks.
All right. Well, thank you again, Mark and Catherine, for sharing with us what you did in West Hartford and what you're in the process of doing in West Hartford. I did want to open it up to Woody if he had any additional resources or tidbits he wanted to mention about Madison in the process that they went through. And they're a little stalled. So, and he did some really great background research. So, Woody, I'm going to unmute you, and if you have anything you would like to add that you think would be helpful for people, please share it.
Hello?
Hi, you're unmuted.
Good evening, everybody. We're a lot smaller in terms of number of fixtures. Just to give you an idea, I think we're at 646 fixtures on the streets, not including any town-owned fixtures on town property, but just on the streets. And CL&P was actually pretty cooperative and gave us this breakdown of what we're spending and what it would save if we had in-town maintenance handle it. So just to give you an idea, we are currently spending almost $88,000 on streetlights, on the 646 streetlights. If we bought them and continued to pay the distribution charge and the electric charge, not changing technology but just leaving them the same, we'd save about $45,000 per year. But then we would have to maintain them. And that's really been the sticking point in the whole project. We got approval to buy the fixtures from the Board of Selectmen. We got money allocated by the Board of Finance. And then it turned out that the town simply didn't have the time or resources to find vendors qualified to service the lighting. And so the real hang-up becomes the maintenance of these things. We thought that we had found some vendors, but even they were really reticent because CL&P had good data on when these fixtures were installed, and didn't know is when they were last serviced. So ballot to a maintenance contract with Madison or reballasted, or when photocells were replaced. It's pretty hard to get a hard quote, and that's kind of the sticking point that we find ourselves in right now. This project was approved last October, so in a month we'll be almost a year with the money sitting there, but we're unable to move forward. So we kind of would hope that maybe some other towns listening might not be in West Hartford's position where they can have their own in-house maintenance staff, but we're looking for ways to figure out how do we get these things maintained. Perhaps if a number of towns got together and we could find somebody that would agree to do it, it would be a larger pool. Perhaps it would be more economical. We have so much money involved in the ability to maintain these things and still have it pay off. Just for instance, we got a couple of different quotes that I got personally, just reviewing it with some local vendors. None of those obviously would qualify for town quotes because that has to be done by town personnel, but I got quotes anywhere between $10,000 and $15,000 per year on the 646 lights. So that would mean that we would still save $28,000 per year. And my goal was not to save money, which is pretty terrific, but actually just to move into the newer technology. I've been a member of the Municipal Solid State Lighting Consortium, which is Department of Energy funded group from all over the country, and I've been following the major cities that we have all over the country that have been doing LED conversions. I mean, for instance, Los Angeles just completed 140,000 fixture upgrade, and they're now completely LED. Seattle, similar to that. Boston, similar to that. And New York City finally really jumping in with that, both in Central Park on a decorative fixture basis and on their roadways. So my goal obviously was to get the LED technology in there, but step one was that we had to own them. And so that's kind of where we are, and it would be great if other towns out there had some comments on that, because I think that's the hurdle we're in right now.
with that, we can open it up.
Madeline? Yeah.
Yeah, so we can unmute audience members at this time.
Jean, you had a question.
Me?
Yeah, go ahead, Jean. You're unmuted.
Yeah, in Wyndham we were able to purchase historically, nothing recently, but sections of the town's poles. So we would do like one block, and then we were able to take that block and switch it over to LEDs using an outside contractor. But that essentially eliminated any more maintenance, and it was only you only purchase as many as you can afford to switch over to LEDs.
And Jean, this was in Wyndham?
Yeah, yeah. So that's just a tactic.
That's
You don't have to have it all at once. We'll do it gradually.
Well, CLNP told us, this is Woody from Madison again, that we could do that as long as contractually we agreed to complete the purchase of all 646 within 5 years.
Okay. I don't know. We've been able to purchase them as we do certain projects, like, we do a certain area of the street and we put the wires underground. For some reason we own those poles. But I don't know all the history of that. Yeah, I'm not surprised. I was wondering if CLP was cooperating with us.
That's a wonderful deal. They were, they said you could do a fifth per year for 5 years or your own schedule as long as contractually you agreed to complete the purchase within the 5-year period. And we frankly had no issue. Or just to give you an idea, the 646 fixtures, of which more than half were 70-watt high-pressure sodium, the total cost to purchase them, including 37 poles that were used for lighting only, was $72,000. So we just weren't talking about a big number, and that's why it was so easy to convince everyone that, gee, if it has a 2-year payback, what's the issue? But so that wasn't the problem. The problem was really finding a way to get these things maintained, because we clearly couldn't replace them all in one foul swoop with LEDs, and so we were going to be maintaining some high-pressure sodium fixtures for a few years.
Yeah.
It sounds like if that's the cost of them, then the savings may not justify a full-time position just to do that. So you really do need some party to help you.
Yeah, we looked at that. It's really difficult when you don't know. I mean, it's a bucket truck, and then the bucket truck's only servicing, a town with 646, and we just heard from Mark that 2 bucket trucks services 6,500. So we looked at it, and facilities looked at it and said, this just, we could burn up the entire $40,000 savings with an electrician, a bucket truck, and supplies.
Well, I would certainly suggest talking to your COG about getting shared bucket truck, because every town needs one.
Well, Roger and I actually discussed that, and I'll be calling the contact in our COG in the next few days.
Yeah.
I thought that was a great idea.
And just a question both for Jean and West Hartford. I mean, are you aware of any regional efforts where towns have banded together to do a project like street lighting or work through their local council of governments?
I have not. We've purchased other equipment, though, for maintaining trails and things like that. And I know other towns have been very expressed a desire to share a bucket truck with Wyndham. I don't think it's happening.
Is Mark still on the call? Mark Kallenbach, do you know any contractors who do that kind of work?
Yes, definitely. There's definitely, I could get you those names of those contractors. Town of Torrington has a contractor that works in that town up in Torrington, Connecticut. They have hired a private contractor. They bought the lights, and yes, they have an outside contractor doing their work for them. I don't have the name in right now at this moment. I can't think of the name, but I can certainly get that to you, Catherine. You can get it back to Roger.
Yeah, and I'd be happy to follow up after the call.
Yeah, Wyndham uses a private contractor on a per pole basis when we have to fix something.
I'm sorry, what was that? I couldn't hear that question.
Yeah, Wyndham hires a private contractor every time they have to fix or change a light or change a pole out. I don't. We didn't have to contract with anybody.
I'm sorry. This is Mark from West Hartford. I do know that if you're not the owner of the utility pole, but you then bought the fixture itself and the bracket that holds that light up, when there is something you have to think about when this happens a lot to us, when you get a pole knocked down, then you're either going to be obligated to pay CLMP at that point a fee to put that light fixture back up when you put the new pole up, or your private contractor has to come in and put that up and work with CLMP to get that light fixture and bracket back up. When you get a pole knocked down, basically it's tedious, time-consuming, because CLMP has to obviously get the pole back in. In our town, it could be AT&T, but the energy has to be disconnected. You have to get the primary switched to the new pole, secondaries, and at that time, your private contractor or your town employee has to stand by and wait to put that fixture back on. So what I do in the town of West Hartford is, if it's an insurance claim, one of my electricians will go up to the pole knockdown and negotiate with CLMP. Instead of having the town go after, if it's in a motor vehicle accident, the insured, CLMP would then do the paperwork, file the paperwork against the insurance company, and it gets paid that way. The only thing I'm obligated to do at that point is we keep in stock mast arms, photocells, fixtures, and we would bring that fixture out and mast arm if it was damaged to CLMP. So that's what we do if it's an accident. Act of God's different though. Then you're on your own. You have to bring your own contractor at that point. But again, in house we do that all, including set our own telephone poles. So.
This is Catherine with West Hartford. I'm wondering, you mentioned this idea of getting together a few towns. Is this something that, just thinking out loud, Andy Marola or CCM might look at as another program? I know it's not energy procurement or solar right now, but if municipalities have this need for kind of a regional contract to
Catherine,
reduce costs.
Good point. This is Woody again from Madison.
Yeah.
I've spoken numerous times to Andy over the last 2 months. Basically, when I started the project last October, or after I got it approved last October, CCM through Siemens was desirous of maintaining old technology lighting, and I got a quote from CCM of about $11,000 on the job. When the streetlight purchase was approved, and I went back to Andy, he said Siemens withdrew from that and is no longer involved with Connecticut streetlight maintenance. So I reconnected with him because oh, it really did suck. It was like, you appear before the Board of Selectmen, you appear before the Board of Finance, you have hard numbers in writing, they say go, and then you can't go. So yeah, it was. But anyhow, he has reconnected with Siemens, and they are now only willing to maintain LED installations. They're not going to maintain old technology. They want kind of an all-inclusive situation where a town buys the fixtures, and then Siemens and CCM do the engineering to decide what fixtures should be put in. They contract out having those fixtures put in place, and they then will go and do the ongoing maintenance on them. I know that he's talked to a few towns, including Madison, but we don't know any of the details, and it just doesn't seem to me like the program is forward enough at this point for me to go any farther with him. He had asked me for an agreement where if Siemens didn't get the job once we owned the lighting, that we would pay for all of their time and materials in getting ready for the proposal. And I just thought, gee, if I sell something, I bear the risk of that.
Right. Are there any other regional entities like CROG or CREC who might play a role? I don't know what their angle would be.
And so CROG is the council of government, so there is one in that area. What's CREC?
it's more regional education. I was just thinking because they're a regional body, but it's more schools. Or is there a state buying contract that would sort of cover street lighting maintenance that you could purchase off of? I'm just thinking more from the procurement side. Seems to be Woody's hurdle.
Does the state contract out for services like that for its own properties?
I don't know.
If the state maintains their own street lights, if they talk about roadway lighting on highways and things like that, state highways, they take care of their own street lights in the state of Connecticut.
Got it.
Well, step one in any process through the state would be for the state DOT to approve LED roadway lighting, which they have not yet done. Our town engineer spoke with an engineer, electrical engineer at the DOT, and he said they have no intention at this point of putting in any LED roadway lighting, that they are looking seriously into parking lot, commuter parking lot LED lighting, and perhaps exit ramp or on-ramp lighting, but not highway lighting, which puts us squarely so behind every other state around us. It's scary. It's beyond scary. I don't know if
nice to see towns are leading the way once again.
Well, trying. But, in Maine, not only have they done major highways with LEDs, they've replaced all those 60-foot poles with gigantic 1,000-watt fixtures on them with LEDs and have had no issues. So people thinking that we can't have high-wattage LEDs today in 2013 are really sadly mistaken.
Well, let me see if any of our audience members have any questions that they didn't get to ask yet. If so, just hit the little hand icon and we can unmute you. Okay, we're not seeing any last questions or last words?
Roger, it's Mark again from the town of West Hartford. And I do know just one more thing, that when we bought our fixtures in the town of West Hartford, 6,500, part of the agreement was that we had to go on ID. We had to put our own sticker that identifies that as a West Hartford fixture, so that there's no misunderstanding. So every fixture we bought, we had to go out and tag it, put an ID on it.
That seems very high technology.
Yeah.
Well, we actually were told the same thing, Mark. It's really funny. Mark, while you're on the line, when you compared the electrical energy savings between a 70-watt high-pressure sodium and a 54-watt LED, did you use 70 or the typical 84 watts that a 70-watt high-pressure sodium actually draws on the cut sheet?
No, if it was a 70, we would have compared it to the 84.
Yeah.
But Catherine is just doing the estimation. She did it. Catherine, go ahead.
We would have done it on the draw, the 84. Yeah, the actual.
Oh, great. Okay.
The actual wattage draw.
Because I agree with you. All the studies and all the lighting I've seen at the demos in the Municipal Solid-State Lighting Consortium's get-togethers would show that that a 100-watt would be replaced by a 50 or 52-watt equivalent, and that the brightness otherwise would be too great in the LED.
Yes, and that's when we were. We had a slide on the foot candles from our Cobra heads. We went from, and we told you, I think we went from 150s to 106 and 70s to 54s. Now, we made those swaps based on the manufacturer's recommendations, but and CLMP actually, to their credit, mentioned it as well. They asked, so how did you decide on those wattages? Are you going to follow up? And as it turns out, we think we can drop it further than the 106. That was the manufacturer's kind of equivalency recommendation. But as you know, the LED light is very different. The foot candles don't really tell the whole story. So until you get one up we think we can go even lower than that.
I don't think there's any doubt about it. We put up some Cobra head of the new Cree XPS fixtures in school-owned property in Madison, which is not regulated by the same group that handles the street lighting, although they're on streets and they're at normal pole height. And we're over 55% saved in electricity because the spectrum of an LED is just so much broader that foot candles just aren't foot candles and lumens just aren't lumens. One thing to point out, the smaller the wattage of your LED, the less obviously you'll pay CL&P and electric rates, but the greater your rebate will be because the ratio of high pressure sodium to LED improves. So it's just a double win.
And you've gotten rebates not only for fixture replacements, but also for some of these other technologies like the timers and other controls.
There is a rebate program with the West Hartford has with CL&P on the midnight photo cells. There is a program that's established for that now.
Great.
Yeah, the midnight photo cell is a prescriptive rebate for CL&P. That $51.16 per photo cell installed is just a flat prescriptive rebate. So if, as in the case of Mark's group, he can install one more cheaply than $51.16, it's actually no money.
Got it.
But then you have to, Captain, then we also have to apply for the reduced energy cost because you're using less energy. So that's just a savings on your energy bill then at that point.
Yes.
Is there a fixed rate for that, the way there is for 116 and 117 yet? Because they were talking about doing it that way, but have they?
I can share what I have from CL&P as far as that rate is the rate established for those shorter timer cells. And to be honest with you, they never asked me if I was putting that on. Now, I have to, when I install them, I document the date I put them in. Then we have to document what the pole number, because you have to have the ID pole number where it is, because that's part of the requirements. And also you tell them the wattage of the fixture that you're putting that on. So those are the three requirements that they have. And then there's a set rate between whatever wattage you're putting those on. And I can get that to Catherine. And
yeah, so when we get a bill, when we get an unmetered bill that has, it will have one section of the bill for, you know, so many watt or whatever 6,500, you know, high pressure sodium. And then there'll be another section for 6,500 high pressure sodium midnight. And those are charged at a different rate for accounting for reduced hours of operation. It's a
what I was curious about.
Yeah.
Right. Is that a published rate just like rate 116 and rate 117?
Oh, I don't.
Is that just a
Tara,
publicly published rate?
I could probably tell you what it is. Yeah, I think it's a standard because it's mostly just adjusting the hours for the hours of operation.
Got
it. It's no longer the 4150 that is for dawn to dusk. It's a fraction of that. So I think they could, if it's not published in the actual tariff, they probably can tell you what that adjustment would be based on the type of lamp. Yeah, based on the type of lamp.
Right.
Well, it's been a great discussion. So I want to thank Mark and Catherine from the town of West Hartford, Woody from Madison, Woody Weiss from Madison for providing some good insights. Unfortunately, the folks from Cheshire had an emergency today and couldn't make it, but I'll make their contact info available if folks are interested in lighting projects within town buildings and schools. And next webinar is this Thursday, so stay tuned, and we'll have some other ones. And if you have ideas for webinars that you'd like us to hold and think would be useful, please just email rsmith@cleanwater.org, and you know, we'll work with you to try to find some towns who've already gone through it and who are willing to share their experiences. So again, thanks everyone, and you'll get an email with the details and the link to the webinar if you'd like to watch parts of it again. Great, thank you.